Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's show, Chat, Talk, and Chill with Phenyo. For today, I have a very special guest. He is a Pan-Africanist, a socialist, a communist who is belonging in the progressive left wing. He has been featured in many news episodes. He is a politician who also believes that if you do not interfere your life with politics, politics will interfere in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jabulani Bakani. Jabulani, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Manny.
It is a pleasure to have you. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
Jabulani, I want to ask you about what you believe in, specifically in politics.
Yeah.
And many people do not know what a Pan-Africanist is. Could you kindly explain to us, Jabu, what is a Pan-Africanist?
Okay, thank you so much for the platform, Phenyo, and for having me. Greetings to the audiences and everyone that's watching at home. So basically, Pan-Africanism is a socio-economic political ideology for Africans by Africans. You know, it's a concept that was embraced back in the 1980s by the likes of Martin Luther King, the likes of Muammar Gaddafi, the likes of who's this guy? Malcolm X, you know, such. So it's all about black people embracing being black, doing things on their own. Also the likes of Steve Biko, they are Pan-Africanists.
So it is mainly for the black people, by the black people.
Yes,
to reform. Is it to reform or
to reform the injustice of the past?
The injustice of the past.
Yeah.
So there is a quote that says, when injustice has become law, resistance becomes a duty. I don't know who said that, right? So that basically Pan-Africanism links to Africans facing injustice, and them seeing injustice, they take matters into their own hands.
Definitely.
To come up with a revolution,
Yeah.
to bring resistance into the world. Do you think politics is necessary in today's era?
Yeah, politics is definitely necessary in today's era because majority of how the African continent is actually structured is because of politics and history, you know. So it's necessary for us to engage in politics or to participate in politics in order to reform, you know, and structure our country back to how it was or how we would want it to be. Because right now, the state of how our continent is like in country, it's not necessarily how we wanted it to be, you know. It's the West that are shaping and influencing everything, you know. And we are not cows. We are not going to be controlled or told what to do or you know, divided according to how the West or the West actually wants us to be like, you know. We can make our own decisions. We are human beings. We have brains. We have been a functional continent even prior to colonization or the arrival of a white man in this continent.
The arrival of a white man in this continent. That is powerful, Jabu. That is powerful. Jabulani, you have been featured in SABC News,
yes.
Right? I just want to get a glimpse idea of how did you feel when you were in the news? What were you speaking about basically?
Yeah.
What was the topic about, and how are you engaging with the people of the SABC?
Okay, so I've been featured on SABC News 2 times. For the first one, it was about like immigration. The increasing number of immigration in our country, and then the second one was about the warrant of arrest from ICC to Putin. You know, they demanded that South Africa arrest Putin whenever he comes here for the BRICS summit. So for me, it was a surreal moment. It felt really great because for me it meant that I'm a step closer to my dreams and I'm getting the national recognition that I feel like I deserve, because I've been putting in hard work, you know, especially in terms of institutional level politics. I'm one of the most recognizable people, you know, and one of the most disliked, you know, for the mere fact that, okay, I stand for Pan-Africanism, I stand for my people, and I do not tolerate any injustices or any form of corruption or bogusness between the management and student leadership. So I'm hated and liked at the same time, but it's okay. Okay, for me, it felt really great, and you know, I'm not really much of a good speaker.
First time being on TV, man.
Yeah, man, it was kind of nervous, but it felt great at the same time, and it's something that I want to do more and more in future.
You want to do more and more in future.
Yeah.
So Jabu, where do you hope to end up specifically with this politics thing? Where do you want to end up?
Okay, for me, I actually wanted to be a political analyst at first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically, a political analyst is basically the likes of JJ Tabani,
Mm-hmm.
Caesar Walsh. If you watch his podcast, you know,
Yes.
those people who actually give like feedback after maybe a political conversation whatsoever, or after elections or any other political event, they give a scientific opinion or feedback. So yeah, but I feel like it's not a profitable industry or market, and at the same time I have responsibilities, I have a family to feed. So I'm looking for now, I'm gunning for Minister of International Relations or to be a diplomat for my country, because first of all I like traveling, you know. So if I become a Minister of International Relations or a diplomat, I'll get to travel freely, create content. I'm also a lifestyle content creator, you see, so it'll be me killing two birds with one stone, persuading what I love and my side hobbies and whatsoever.
I want to ask you on that thingy of JJ Tabani.
Yeah.
So about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
Malema was being interviewed by Dr. JJ Tabani, and he asked him about the situation, and Malema happened to mention about opening the borders of the country once he gets into power. So I want to hear what's your opinion about Malema opening borders, while else South Africa is a developing country and we need to first fix ourselves. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Okay, first and foremost, I'm an EFF member in good standing. I do believe in majority of our policies, but however, I am against the opening of borders.
Why are you against?
Because
isn't that what Malema is basically stating?
Yeah, and we are allowed to have indifferences regardless of whether we belong to the same organization whatsoever. But we are allowed to have like different opinions. Because so for me at the moment I disagree with the open border policy, because if we apply a scientific approach and analysis, you will see that South Africa is one of the most it's one of the countries with high unemployment rate.
60, I think it's 62%.
Yeah, 62. Imagine Zimbabwe is even doing far more better than us in terms of employment. We have a high gender-based violence rate. We have high poverty rate. There's inflation. There's load shedding. There's so many problems. So the opening of borders immediately after he comes in power, it's going to be a disaster. It's gonna actually limit him from actually achieving that economic emancipation he's fighting for. So we need to first start by developing this country. We need to first start by getting more resources, and then that way we can now accommodate our fellow African brothers.
But then Jabulani, you forget to mention that the good side of opening borders is for basically trade, right?
Yeah.
And you and I were in the same class of politics. Last week we were discussing about, I don't know what's the concept. Is it the one that says that the colonialists of Africa came up with a strategy of making borders? Is it hereditism?
Yeah, something like that.
Hereditism or something like that, right? So the colonialists came up with a system to basically keep the Africans divided, right? And because of the differences, we were divided. The Sotos were put in this section, the Zulus were put in this section. The Africans, the Xhosas and the Tswanas were basically scattered around South Africa, while else the Europeans kept most of the African community economy or basically land, right? What is your take on the issue of the EFF on land expropriation without compensation?
Yeah, I definitely agree with it, and I definitely agree with the policy, because first of all, this land was stolen, through genocides, racism, division, murder, and all of that stuff. Our mothers, our great grandmothers were raped. But then our youth were killed. Our great granddads were killed. While they didn't take this land freely, there had to be wars. They even initiated wars amongst other African tribes, in order for them to be able to conquer us, because divided we
fall.
Are conquered, or divided we fall, and then united we stand. So
yes.
They understood this philosophy very well, and that's what they did when they got here. Even through religion, the introduction of Christianity, was to divide us, So they introduced this new concept of a religion, and then we argue amongst ourselves. We now start to think differently and see religion from different lenses, and then there's conflict amongst us, and then we are divided. So those are some of the instruments the white men used to easily divide us.
So do you think then after post-apartheid, right, that democracy, when democracy first came in South Africa, it is one of the biggest things that brought about change, right? And I want to hear what you think on this one. Do you think that democracy that came into South Africa, or that came basically in Africa, since you're a Pan-Africanist, is working for South Africa? Do you think it is working, or do you not think it is working? And if so, if you think that it's working, why do you say it's working?
Okay, I actually think democracy is not working because, first of all, you cannot build a house where every nail has an opinion, So right now, one of the issues we have in this country that's prohibiting us from developing or moving forward, it's because there's so many opinions, White people white people and some of the black minority are opposing the idea of land expropriation without compensation, So how are we gonna move forward, whereas everyone has an opinion, we have the likes of AfriForum that's advocating for white interest. We have the likes of DA advocating for the rights or interest of white people, and at our expense, majority of the South African economy is still in the hands of the colonialists, the white men, So how do we progress forward without the economy? How do we develop without the land? Only a particular racial minority is benefiting from the economy and the land of this country.
Let me step on that for a little second. So are you saying then we should give land to
the government,
African people, the government, not the African
people specifically? Because the government can then redistribute it equally, not based on race whatsoever, but based on who's competitive, who can work the land. Because some people are keeping these masses and masses of land, yet they cannot even farm them, or they cannot even produce enough capital or goods for the country. They are only benefiting themselves and their families. What about the 80% of Black South Africans or colours and Indians living in poverty?
But then that demotes the theory of capitalism, where people are allowed to own their own places and own. So don't you think that will be a problem once that is brought into Africa, when communism is basically now a foundation rooted in Africa? Don't you think it will cause a huge problem?
Nah, because Muammar Gaddafi actually implemented Pan-Africanism, communism, and socialism in Libya, and Libya was doing well under Muammar Gaddafi's rule. We ought to apply a scientific approach. We don't just come up with a policy and throw it. No, there's calculations, there's research behind each and every policy. There's a way in which it's going to be executed. So for me, I think communism is definitely going to work, because capitalism is the reason why we are here. Capitalism is the reason why there's poverty in the world. Poverty was created by men in this world. No one was born poor. No, even from the creation of the world. No, even in the Bible, if you could check, nobody lived in poverty, because you could farm, you could do whatever you want to do, you could participate in economically whatsoever. But right now, capitalism has prohibited people from participating. Like these people that are keeping masses and masses of productive land or soil, they are actually stopping other people from being able to farm and then provide for their families.
But then, what if? Okay, you can finish.
Yeah, they are actually stopping or limiting others from doing that. If you could check the South African economy, it's in charge of the rupees. On a daily basis, almost everything you consume comes from their companies. Imagine you are just a startup without enough capital, because where will you get money from if the government doesn't even have land or money to give you, for a startup? For example, you cannot compete with the likes of Nescafe, you cannot compete with the likes of Coke. Those are establishments, entities. They will definitely rip you apart if you are to try to enter that market.
People like Pfizer.
Definitely, bro. So they have locked the economy amongst themselves. They have made it impossible for new competition to emerge.
I like how your mind is is vibrant and very, very challenging to young people out there that also want to implement change. So Jabulani, I want to ask you then, so seeing that you're saying that democracy is not working, would you be in a state that you are in right now if it wasn't for democracy?
I think, to be honest or to be frank, I think I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for democracy.
And
also I think I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for colonialism. Maybe I'd probably be in the mountains looking after my father's cows, and then I come back from home to my girlfriend, a plate full of nutritional food, from the backyard garden.
Do you think that Africa should go back to those times?
Definitely, because white people are smart, or the colonialists are smart. They introduce a system and then they come up with a falsified or a falsified solution, which is democracy. You cannot come up with a problem and then you provide us with a systematic solution, which at the same time it's going to create a problem. Yes, it's going to create other problems, like it is right now. Some students are unfunded. We are here battling unemployment. We are here studying without even the certainty of where am I going to end up after here.
So one of the things that actually was implemented by our first black president, Nelson Mandela, he implemented the concept of the Rainbow Nation, also with his accomplice, Mr. Desmond Tutu. The concept of the Rainbow Nation is a very complicated thing, right? And it's basically saying that all people in Africa or in South Africa work together in order to achieve greatness or to bring about the colors out, in whether you are black, you are white, you are Asian, you are Indian. We all work together in order to make South Africa.
Do you believe in Rainbow Nation?
In the Rainbow Nation.
And do you think it's working for us?
Well, that's what I actually wanted to ask you, Jabulani. Okay. Well, what I think is actually the Rainbow Nation is a good concept on paper.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
It is a good concept on paper, but honestly speaking, we all have our differences, and some people are raised in a way that they don't want to forget what happened in the past. They don't want to move forward. I'm not saying that we should forget, right? But I'm saying that people are still stuck in the same thing that happened in the past, and we can't.
And why are we stuck there? Let me give you a scientific reasoning. The reason why we are stuck where we are, it's because certain racial groups or thinks that they are above everyone. Hence why they don't want to return back the land. They don't like the idea of equal redistribution of the land and the economy. So how are we going to reach that Rainbow Nation? Whereas my people are subjected to poverty. And poverty that was created systematically or on purpose to benefit or to advance other people. How are we going to move forward if some people are still against the idea of land exploitation without compensation? How are we going to reach that quorum whereas some people
But Mandela fought for freedom.
He didn't fight for freedom. In fact, I don't like to sound like a conspiracy theory. If you could apply a deep analysis into the history of political organizations in this,
such as the ANC.
Yeah, we had PAC, which is the Pan-Africanist Congress, and then we had the ANC. Those were two of the most strongest political organizations at the time. Yet, the white monopoly decided to fund the ANC. They gave them a deal. Okay, now that we are seeing there's a rise in international resistance, sanctions, etc. And then they were starting to lose capital, and then they sat down with the ANC delegates, and they were like, okay, let's negotiate a deal. We send you to prison for a number of years, and then when you come back, we give you power, and then you're gonna make policies and rules that benefits, that still serves our interest, Then they didn't fund PAC, which was saying they must leave and they must give back the land and they must return everything they've stolen, and then we're gonna which is what Malema, the Pan-African Congress was basically the same thing, or it had the same concept as the EFF. And then they decided not to fund it. They fund the ANC. They even sent some of these cadres to foreign nations to give them military training. The likes of Ramaphosa was able to study overseas, was able to travel whenever he liked. He even had residence or a passport in England. He could enter as much as he want to. And then you're saying those people are fighting for freedom. What freedom and democracy was there? Because even right now, the so-called freedom we are talking about, it's only the ANC delegates or executives that are benefiting from how our country is structured right now, from tenderpreneurs, corruption, and even their salaries. It's only them and their families or whatever generational lines that are benefiting from that. And ordinary South African is not benefiting from the way our economy is structured.
So then, are you saying apartheid is still continuing?
Definitely.
In South Africa?
Yeah, and it's done by the white monopoly and our own people, the elites, the ANC, which I refer to as the bourgeoisie or the black elites. Definitely, it's still done.
As we are moving on, I understand that half of you that are watching this show are not subscribed to the channel. So please do me a favor, click that like and subscribe button and drop a comment and tell us what you think on the concepts that we'll be discussing here today. Jabu, I want to ask you about your code, right? If you do not interfere your life with politics, politics will interfere in your life. That is one of the core values that you stand for. Why do you stand for that value?
I think it goes back to my childhood. I experienced so much segregation, alienation, and racial segregation. At some point I broke an arm. Then I went to a public hospital. There was this white boy, he liked calling me a monkey. But then, because I've always been an outspoken person who stood up for my rights or what I believe is right, I retaliated back.
What did you do?
I dealt with that boy. Precisely. I will not mention it on camera, but yeah, I dealt with him precisely.
What did you do, Joe? What did you
want to know, my brother?
What did you do, bro?
No, that story I'll tell you one day.
Okay, sharp.
And then I was actually raised by my grandma, in a small town called Marquardt in the Free State, whereby there's still a handful of white Africanists that are still in charge of the town and the economy. They think they are above the law. At some point, there's this clinical practitioner or a doctor. I don't know if that's the right whatever term for that. I'm not into sciences and all that. So at this guy's whatever place, there's two doors. The other door is for us, and then the other one is for white people. So imagine it's 2023 and we still have such in our country, because these are small towns whereby the media doesn't even reach them. The people are uneducated. They don't know their political right. They don't even know what's happening politically. So hence why they cannot even stand up to these guys. So these are some of the forces that actually drives me to want to pursue politics and deal with such injustices. And it also, it also shows the interference of politics if you don't participate in, because it's politics, it's racial politics. At some point it's going to interfere or catch up with you. And then if you do not know your political rights, or you are not active or politically knowledgeable, you won't even know what measures to take in terms of dealing with that. So it's important for you to be politically active. Like right now we are facing elections
that are coming next year.
Load shedding, corruption. All of us are affected by that, and it's all political stuff. It's political agenda. Whether you like it or not, politics is interfering in your life.
So you're saying that young people should have the courage to go and vote and choose who the leader is going to be?
Definitely, because youth unemployment in this country alone is 64%, which is the highest in the world. So that really shows the youth must take this initiative to be active and participate in politics, or either they will be affected, because we make up that 64% stats.
So Jabu, do you think then people that do not vote do not have a right to complain?
Definitely, and they are actually a pandemic to this country. If you don't vote, who's going to vote for you? Who's going to advocate for you?
But then, what about people that say that, what's the point of voting if there's no trust and credibility in the IEC, in the ANC, in the EFF, in the DA, in any political party in South Africa? All of them are corrupt. So why should I vote as a young person? What do you say to that?
Well, I'd like to clear, not that I'm siding with IEC, but I'd like to clear those rumors. IEC is a credible, independent organization or institution, that regulates voting. So there's no system of cheating whatsoever. If there is, then there are platforms to actually report that. There has been incidents whereby, okay, some of the delegates are IEC, they threw away the voting ballots afterwards, or the truck was hijacked. But I think those are just inside jobs. But however, the IEC is a credible and independent institution that regulates voting. The only thing that the reason why the ANC keeps on winning elections, it's not necessarily because they buy votes, they cheat with IEC. No, majority of it's just through psychological manipulation, like giving us grants, giving us t-shirts and groceries coming. It's our fault actually. We go and vote for the ANC. We forget. I think during elections we have amnesia, or there's a problem with us. We end up voting for the ANC again, regardless of circumstances. They have
even though it's the one that, yes,
so it's not a matter of IEC. IEC is not at fault. These political organizations are the ones who are cheating the system. They study the system and understand it, and then they know how to break the rules like an artist.
So then, Jabulani, I want to ask you again on what you think in terms of African politics, right? South Africa has now added the third ballot paper. And the ballot paper keeps becoming longer and longer and longer, and more political people are standing up to say we want change in South Africa, right? So Jabulani, we have the likes of the ANC that fought for democracy and that fought to bring...
No, the ANC did not fight for democracy.
It didn't fight for democracy.
Black South Africans, Indians and Coloreds that
fought combined,
definitely.
Yes. Right?
The ANC was just part of those people that were fighting.
It was the one that was voted for, right?
Definitely.
So it is the one that was voted for, and that basically there was the one that implemented democracy because of it was the ruling party, right? So we have the ANC that wants to fight for this, and we have the DA that also wants to fight for the same thing, but with different ideologies, and we have the EFF that brings the land expropriation, wants to fight for the very same thing, right? Now, one would ask, if all these parties are fighting for the same thing, why are we having so many parties? Why can't we just have one party that fights for the human race?
Well, that's the beauty of, or the consequences of democracy. Hence why I hate democracy so much, and I think it's not working for our country. So one of the consequences of democracy is that each and every name has an opinion. Each and everyone has freedom of choice. Anyone can just wake up and decide to start their own political organization. You have the likes of Kenny Kunene and Mackenzie. They are former prisoners. Yet they started their own political organizations. And foolish South Africans are supporting that nonsense. How can you trust the prisoner? Imagine, there's so many educated young people. There's us who are studying political sciences. And then instead of putting your faith and hope in us, you go and vote for a former prisoner.
Do you think?
So for me, I'm getting to the question.
To the question, yes.
So the reason why we have so many political organizations, they serve as vanguards. As a vanguard for the one in power, if it's not living up to its promises, so it's a great thing, and it's both a blessing and a curse, because if you do not live up to your promises, then these other political organizations, they act as a vanguard that puts you under pressure. Like the EFF, it's one of the biggest opposition in this country we have. If the ANC is not working, for example, they went for coalition in Erkuruleni, and ever since there's been that collision between ANC and the EFF. The city of Kuruleni is running like a well-oiled engine. They've reported zero corruption last year, so it helps to have many political organizations, because at the end of the day, it's freedom of choice, and they serve as a vanguard, for the one in power if he's not living up to his promises. Otherwise, we would be like an authoritarian regime in China, whereby even if Xi Jinping is not delivering services or developing the country forward, he cannot oppose that, So hence I'm saying it's both a blessing and a curse, But
America is a two-party system, right? We have Democrats and we have Republicans, right? And America is a first world country. China is a one-party system, right? And they're basically moving. They're also a superpower.
They are number 2 after the US.
They are number 2 after the US.
Yeah.
Russia is also moving forward, right?
Yeah.
The UK, I don't know about the UK,
The
but
UK is a democracy,
right?
Yeah, but
so South Africa has over more than 10 or more than 15 political parties.
Yeah.
Do you not think that the more we have these parties, the harder it becomes for us to decide, and we cannot move forward because of everyone has their opinion on what leadership is, right? And also to add on that, do you think for the likes of Julius Malema, for the likes of Mmusi Maimane, who basically Julius left from the ANC, who basically is the Mmusi Maimane who left from the DA, started their own political party because of they did not mix or they did not want to be led. Do you think that people that do not want to be led by other people or that do not want to follow leadership have the capability to lead others?
Yeah, definitely, because I believe each and every one of us is a leader. You know, he's a born leader, and
or they're just power monks.
Nah, it's not necessarily power monks. Sometimes, you know, I don't think people just wake up and decide to leave an organization. You know, it's a long-term process. Maybe these guys have been bringing up a certain issue that has been bothering them. Maybe they have been trying to fight the corruption within the organization, like Julius Malema. You know, he kept on reminding the ANC delegates, okay, this is what the founding manifesto of the ANC says, yet we are not living up to that. And then they tried to sideline him or quiet him, or maybe because he wasn't as powerful as the other whatever executives, his voice was never heard. Hence why he decided to start his own organization, and repel against that system. So for me, hence why I'm saying it's both a blessing and a curse. And I actually have mixed feelings about like us having so many political organizations, because I think at some point it helps, at some point it's also killing us. But however, I wouldn't say I support it or I'm against it. I'm just neutral.
But then, Jabulani, what you're saying then is, if your father says that you cannot do this, then are you as a child liable to say, I'm gonna step outside my father's house and I'm gonna start my own house?
Definitely.
What else am a child?
Definitely. Me, I support that. What if the father is abusing you or he can't run the household like how a father is supposed to run?
What makes you think that you'll be a better leader when you leave the house?
Because you can definitely see, this one is failing. Then that means that you're already matured enough or ready to can go out there and do what he felt to do. For the mere fact that you can notice or see, okay, this person is not leading as he should, that means you are already matured in that manner, your way of thinking, and then it also in a way enables you to be able to do what he felt to do. So it's necessary for you to man up. If whoever is the man of the house is not, leading as he should, I fully support that. As a child, even in family dynamics, we should go about it that way. If you feel like, okay, your mom is a drunkard, your dad is a junkie whatsoever, leave that house to form your own family, because at the end of the day it's detrimental to the household and to yourself.
Where do you go? Where do you go?
Out there.
Out there where? You become a homeless child.
You don't become look at Julius Malema now. He has founded the third largest political organization, which might be the second largest after the ANC, maybe after the 2024 elections, because we don't have the stats for 2023 as yet. But based on observations, social media, and the hype on the streets, you can tell
the EFF
either the second
is breathing largest, on the DA's
definitely
neck.
Not even the DA. DA is still a small child. The ANC's neck.
The ANC's neck.
Yeah.
So then you get concepts where the leader of the DA says that once he gets into power, the EFF will never get a taste of power. What do you say to that?
I think what he's basically saying is that once he gets in power, a black person will never have a voice. Because that's what Malema stands for. Malema is fighting for us, the majority who are marginalized. So if you tell Malema that or the EFF that, then you're basically saying, if I do get in power, black people are not going to say shit or have something to say in this country. That's what he's basically saying subconsciously, if we could pay attention. I think that's what he's saying. And so I'm against this nonsense of DA. DA, it shouldn't even be voted for, because if you check even its bureaucracy or the people who in power who calls the shots, they are former apartheid or the National Party members. You know, the shareholders of DA, majority of them comes from the National Party, which was liable for apartheid in this country, and then you still want to vote for that nonsense, you know, and then you expect this country to develop or to be run smoothly.
But then, Jabu, I want to ask you this then.
Yeah.
So there's this thing in politics that says politics is not controlled by those who vote, but it is controlled by those who have the money and the power to control, right? So for organizations like the ANC, for organizations like the EFF and the DA and the COPE and the whatsoever, those organizations are heavily funded by the Ruperts, by the Oppenheimers, by the Stellenbosch mafia, right? So then why should you vote for an organization that is basically funded by the same people who were eating throughout apartheid?
Well, my brother, there's a difference between funding and capturing. There's funders with different mindsets. Some funders are just rich people. You know, they didn't even benefit from the apartheid, like the likes of Mazotti whatsoever.
Who's Mazotti?
Who's funding the EFF?
The EFF.
Yeah, he isn't necessarily concerned with influencing the decisions that Malema made. In fact, he just supports what Malema stands for. The likes of Mazotti, you know, hence I'm saying it's all about the man's mindset. The likes of Rupert, I don't know where his mindset is at. You know, I can't tell. I've never researched him or sat down with him, so I wouldn't tell. But not all white people are bad. You yourself can attest to that.
Yes,
you know?
yes, I know.
So it's a problem of an individual. It's not. We shouldn't generalize and say, okay, all of these white capitalists are the same. Now, some of them they have a
genuinely.
They are definitely. That's why the EFF. There's still white people. There's so many white people in the EFF that are even running for positions or whatever, because they support this equal South African. They are tired of injustices or the economic racial imbalances.
I wanna hear what your opinion is. Do you think the DA was putting a front with Mmusi Maimane being its leader?
Definitely.
Why?
Because even today, if you could go to the DA's rallies, they always have two tables, and then the white delegates are sitting this side, the black delegates are sitting this. Even in their parliamentary sittings, you should check. You know, these are some of the smaller things details we should pay attention to that reveals the truth about a person or an organization or an institution. These things are called logos, and I don't know, logos and what in sociology or in psychological languages.
So whereby we have separate groups, white people this side, black people this side.
These are symbols that should tell you the culture of the organization, the true identity of the organization. You should check also the majority of their members in parliament. You know, the people who holds majority of the power or the higher positions. It's white people, majority of them, and then you are saying you are for the black people, and then you go and fight Julius Malema, a person that's advocating for the majority of black South Africans. Julius Malema is basically our beacon of hope as black South Africans.
Do you think that the DA is trying to bring apartheid back?
No, I think they are trying to continue it, because we're already living in a systematic apartheid in a way. You know, they are trying to continue with the system that's benefiting the white people at the expense of my people. They are trying to continue with the land being in the hands of the white minority, majority of the land being in the hands of white minority. They want to continue this system of capitalism that's currently impoverizing my people, you know.
So then, Jabulani, I want to hear again. Let's get back to the concept of land expropriation without compensation. So then, are you then saying that if a person owns a house right now, whom they have inherited it from their great-great-grandfathers, that they should give away their houses and their land? What else they were not the ones that were participating in colonialism or apartheid? They are the beneficiaries. Should they give it back if they did not participate in...
Okay, you know how this thing works? Let's say right now I steal your phone. After stealing your phone, I take it forcefully, I beat you, I kill you, and then okay, I don't kill you, I just beat you up, and then I take it, and then I give it to my child, and then it happens that I die. So should that child of mine continue roaming around freely with your phone, and then you are seeing it every day? Are you gonna be content with that? Knowing, okay, this used to be my phone, and then this person is busy.
But then one wrong does not make the other right, you know. Two wrongs don't make a right.
And the land expropriation, whatever we talk about.
Expropriation,
yeah,
yes.
It's not necessarily about houses whatsoever. If it's about houses, we can give these people new houses. You know, we can build them new houses.
What
and
about
then take that land? If maybe the house is in the center or the middle of the land we want to preoccupy, because we want the land, we don't want their houses. They can keep the houses. We'll just build a small yard around their house if they are so obsessed or in love with that.
Okay, so what about the houses that are in Stellenbosch? Houses that are in Cape Town?
Yeah.
Where the colonizers came through Cape Town and spread throughout the whole entire South Africa. Those houses were built, and some people even came and bought those houses. Should they not get their money back then?
No, they can keep the houses. We are after the land, the productive soil, you know, the farms. We don't care about
But then the houses are on the land.
Then we'll just cut out small yards like they are doing with us in the townships. Have you seen the yards there for RDPs? You cannot even park your car in there just to park outside. They should also be subjected to that, you know, in order for us to be able to take back that productive soil and then farm or use it to benefit the whole entire country.
But then it is my yard. I paid for it.
But then your yard and your what it's not important then. Impoverizing the whole entire country. So should the whole entire country live in poverty because you are so obsessed about your house, or you know, are you telling me what one person or that minority is more important than 64% of us living in poverty? Are you saying that are they more important than everyone else?
That's a good concept.
And then imagine you were not even born on this soil, and then you want to still be prioritized.
No, I'm saying the people that are born in this soil,
or treated like a VIP. We are not going to treat you like a VIP, whereas you came here, you raped and killed our people. We don't compensate or reward genocides. We don't compensate or reward rapists. We don't compensate or reward murderers or killers. You know, they should be dealt with precisely.
So big topic here for our European people that are going to be watching.
Yeah.
They are scared that the EFF gets into power.
Yeah.
They have to be forced to leave. It's like apartheid reversed.
No,
right? No, let me finish. Okay. So do you think that when Malema gets into power, or when the EFF gets into power, there will be a genocide?
No, my brother, you know, those are just speculations and fear tactics to scare white people, foolish black South Africans. There's no such thing. Go read the founding manifesto.
But you can hear from Malema's voice.
No, my brother, no. There's no. Where did Malema say there's gonna be genocide?
No, the voice that he speaks in.
No,
the tone.
my brother. When has a voice dictated? Are you a voice a voice analyst? My brother, don't come here with rumors or speculations. Don't come here with assumptions.
Okay.
You must go read the 7 non-negotiable pillars. Cardinal pillars of the EFF. You must read the founding manifesto of the EFF and what you are saying. Stop listening to propaganda. Stop listening to these lies. They are just scaring you to stop voting for the EFF. You know, they are scared that you will be equal as them. They don't want equality. They don't want you to be as superior as them. You know.
So do you think it is time that the ANC steps down?
Definitely time. It's definitely time. Or you want them to step down when these lights are off also. Because now they are switching off everything. You know, next time this lights will be off, you won't even be able to charge this camera and record this podcast of yours. You as a media person, you need power. You need to be connected in order to for your career to go on, or for you to be productive. How are you gonna achieve that? Whereas the ANC is busy looting funds. They are looting everything. These people, they are looting COVID-19 tenders. They are looting load shedding, electricity tender. They are looting everything. Vaccine tender. They are not looting. They are even looting as fast now. With this Norako new payment system, this bogus new payment system.
But those are all things that came with democracy, though.
Hence, I'm against democracy. You know, I'm actually, I have mixed feelings about it. You know, I like it to a certain extent, and I also dislike it.
Because people receive social grants because of democracy. And people receive NSFAS because of democracy. People receive disability grants because of Democrats.
Yeah.
The triple BEE came because of Democrats.
Yeah.
Affirmative action came because of Democrats. Do you think democracy is not working for the rights of black people?
Democracy is working, hence why.
But you said it's not working.
No, let me explain what democracy is. You know, you can still be a communist, a democratic communist. You know, you can still be a democratic capitalist. You can still be, you know. So even when Malema takes charge, we're still gonna be a democratic country under socialism and communism. Even the ANC, it's a socialist. It's a socialist. Political organization, you know, they are not necessarily democratic. Democracy, I think, is just what's this thing? A campus that guides all these ideologies. Even in China, Xi Jinping, he regards to himself as a democratic, but however, the Western agenda, they perceive it as dictatorship. You know, how the West is like, when they are against your ideas, you know, they mark you off as a dictator. And no, you can still be an not authoritarian. China, Xi Jinping is not an authoritarian. He's a communist. You know, he regards to himself as a democratic, because even in Zimbabwe, you know, they marked Mugabe as a dictator. Yet there were elections in Zimbabwe each and every year. You know, it was just he knew how to work his way out to get people to vote him. You know, which is what the ANC is doing. So, you see, so